And lastly, as Metal Tiger has a track record of doing, is we do think outside the box of how to monetise and maximise value for assets and things that we get involved in, and to sell a project is just one way of monetising that. There's plenty of other strategies we would consider.
All right, no, that's great stuff. Somebody's asking there, the projected timelines would be interesting to hear for Thailand and Botswana, but
timelines to where?
I don't know, that's the question.
Yeah, I mean, most exploration and development companies, well, exploration companies on AIM are on their road to nowhere. Most of them crap their pants at the concept of buying one rig for 6 weeks to punch 1,000 metres in the ground. We've got multiple rigs on the ground. We're drilling in Spain, we're drilling in Botswana. Everywhere we go we do proper exploration work, and now we're developing assets and getting exceptionally close with regard to Thailand to moving to a very near production status on some significant material assets there. So with timelines, we do things as quickly as we can and we get them done as efficiently as we can, but we're not going to quote very specific timelines. If we do, then we give the market too much information, and it can use that information to screw us and screw our shareholders with manipulation of the share price. The news is going to be fast, thick, and we're not necessarily going to tell people in advance when it's coming, just in case anyone decides to be short. We ought to give them a short health warning.
That's obviously, as well with companies, what you find is when they put timelines and the timelines pass, it has the adverse effect on the company then.
Yeah,
there's more questions than answers, so
this
it's a fine line you're walking,
difficult business to peg it exactly. And the last thing you want to do is overestimate, because then you'll be saying, oh, it would take far longer than people anticipate. And then if you try and be too keen, you end up screwing yourself and become hostage to fortune. We're just going to crack on with everything as efficiently as we can and continually surprise the market with the delivery. It's what we've always done.
Yeah. So your next one up, what was the investment case for Oprah Investments and Thor Mining?
Yeah.
Anybody?
Well, we're an investing company in the natural resource space. Opera was a main market listed company, and we took a reasonably material position. We went over 3%. I think we've got just under 4%, and we are sat there strategically watching the developments. They're in suspension again. Let's hope to goodness they don't go in for the same long-standing suspension as last time, because they did really mess that one up a bit. One hopes they come back to market more efficiently and have better controls in place over their commercial contract negotiations, and we'll see what happens there, and we'll either vote for something or against something if there's a vote. We have lots of ideas and interests that we could use a vehicle like that for, potentially, if they fluff this one, and we'll just play it by ear. Thor Mining, fabulous little tungsten company, undervalued tungsten company, interest in Nevada and in Northern Territories in Australia. Bit of a tungsten focus, we have an interest in tungsten.
You do like a bit of tungsten, yeah, I must admit.
We have a bit of wolframite. A few people on our board that have other tungsten projects that they're aware of, so you never know. In theory, that's a nice vehicle. It's dual listed. It's got a main listing in CDIs, so that means people can trade in Australia and they can trade in through the UK market on AIM. It's a nice balanced vehicle. It's relatively clean. A bit of cash coming in from the sale of Spring Hill in the near term, and we gave it a little bit of money, and it just needs a little bit of enthusiasm and positivity around it, and it should lift. And maybe if somewhere down the line if we choose to, we might get a little bit more active there as well.
Excuse me. The next question: how many assay tests are in the system at Botswana, and is there a schedule for when we should get these results to the market, i.e. numbers and weeks? I don't know if you've already touched on that, actually.
I think Paul already touched on it.
Should we just produce an Excel schedule in advance and give everyone everything?
I think apart from like RNSs today that'll be coming through over the coming weeks, you'll end up with a maiden resource, early in the fourth quarter of this year, we expect. I mean, you can't. How much quicker do you want to get information out of a drill program?
Yeah.
You've got some keen investors.
Yeah.
This is a good one. Changing the subject slightly. This is good. When do you hope to start drilling in Spain, i.e. this year?
We are drilling.
Don't know. This is the questions that
We
I've
bought
been
a
asked.
drill rig. I hope they're drilling.
Yeah, so
Otherwise, that was a waste of money.
yeah.
No, they're rab drilling at the moment. We've been rab drilling pretty much since March of last year.
I know. Well, I met Stu and Alex this year to talk about it actually. So that's just a question. So somebody's put in. That's all.
But yeah, so no, that's ongoing.
Yeah. So the next one, I'd ask
Are
the
they
question.
talking about diamond drilling? I presume if they're talking about the rab drilling, it's been going on for a period of time, and there's a lot of rab drilling being done, and there will be data coming to market soon on what we're finding there. I mean, in fairness to the team, they've pretty much always delivered. So we're quite enthused and excited about what the next phase of exploration is going to yield. But if it's diamond drilling, well, on the tungsten side of things, we found 2 tungsten deposits at the 2 tungsten main targets that they asked us to look at with them, and we need to stick some diamond holes down to see if the mineralisation down to 20-30 metres from the rab drill continues at deeper levels. If it does, we have a very material interest there in very strong tungsten deposits, and so we kind of want to do it, because if we do that, that adds a big block of value to the company in a flash, and for the cost of doing it, it's worth it. So I think diamond drilling, not too far away, but we're not going to be specific on timescales again.
The next question, any updates on when the San Cristobal application may be granted? Are you able to pronounce that correctly?
Yeah, look, could be within coming weeks, but let's say later this year. We've got enough area that we're drilling in with targets at the moment. Once that's granted, the timeline starts on that one, so it's not bad to have them staggered.
Mm.
So obviously these must be coming from the same person, because these are another Spanish question. Which metal will you be focusing more on this year in Spain, and are you hopeful of being in a position of having resource estimates?
Well, we're going to be focusing on gold and tungsten, and we're going to be focusing on a fishing exercise to find as much as we physically can of both of those metals in 2016. Resource estimates, people like when you're driving towards a resource estimate, we understand that Spain is early stage. We could actually yield some information that could deliver a resource estimate over the course of 16. In theory, it's not our primary focus. Our primary focus is on building a knowledge of the mineralisation across our licence areas as quickly as we can. Then we'll narrow down and start to go for resource information. And that could be this year, it might be into next year, but we'll see. We'll see.
Just a quick one, this one's on their Goldstone Resources purchase. Is there any issue with the Goldstone Resources purchase? Their website shows 1.04%.
Yes, there is an issue with Goldstone Resources. It's my personal bugbear, and that's that we need to have examples on AIM of management teams that are effective, deliver and focus on shareholder interests, and it's about time Goldstone Resources had one of those management teams in place. The slowness of development, the lack of focus on what is an astonishingly good asset, Hamasi Akrikari, the lack of focus in communications, almost to the point where something has been sidelined, is astonishing and has to change. And increasingly we will get very active on that. If that company does not shape up, then we will get involved and we will start the process of making it shape up. Management teams have to work for shareholders. There is somebody in Glasgow who invested £150 of their money in Goldstone Resources 2 or 3 years ago, in the hope and expectation that management will be focused and deliver for them, work hard and try their best. Okay, that person has been let down. We don't like that. So Goldstone, watch what happens. I hope they shape up. I hope they react and respond to what we're telling them they ought to be doing. If they don't, then we'll take some steps to make it happen.
That's quite refreshing, that come from the CEO of a company, because you look across the AIM markets and you could pin numerous companies across AIM. Some of them are lifestyle companies, and I won't say this openly, and then you've got cash shells that don't perform, And it's nice and refreshing to hear a management team that speak like that, you know, because they're actually, Paul, to a certain, you are talking for shareholders there, and what this is all about is shareholders.
It's what,
so it's a refreshing point of view that actually.
He's flying halfway around the world at the drop of a hat, and completely disrupting his life, and he'll do it at any moment. And in fairness, he quite likes Thailand. But you know, it doesn't matter. He's here, he's in London, or he's in Thailand, or he's in Botswana. I've never seen anyone work as hard as this guy. In 2015, I mean, the level of work was ridiculous. I was going home silly late, and he was still there, and has worked like a dog for shareholders in Metal Tiger. I've hardly seen my wife for months now, and I think she's quite grateful about that on the whole. But making the point that we're travelling all the time. I've been to Thailand about 9 times since October, and we are totally focused on driving the value for shareholders. Now, we have to deal along the way with a few tossers in the marketplace who like to criticise us and cause us a bit of grief, probably because they're short representatives and they like to bash us in the market. But at the essence of this company's hard work, dedication and a focus on protecting the £150 investor in Glasgow who's gone out and worked and taken a large amount of their pot in and given it to Metal Tiger to invest on their behalf in the resources space. We're not tolerant of people that don't have that focus, and if we find an opportunity like Goldstone with a tremendous asset, Obuasi mine produced 42 million ounces of gold, sat next door, okay? These people have been sat on Hamasi Akrikeri for years. Precious little has been undertaken there to develop that project. And if it's because of a shortage of finance, well, everyone suffered from that. You have to innovate and you have to work harder when there's a shortage of finance and find solutions and find the way through. And we want to see that in all the companies we engage with. So anyone that we invest in, rest assured we're snapping at their heels. If we don't see the right things, we will move in and we'll take some action to make them do the right things. We're very happy with the vast majority of the companies that we invest in, pretty much all the way through the process. But we're also quite keen to make sure that people perform.
Can I just ask a personal question as well? If you look at Metal Tiger, it looks like it's been short, because you look at the markets. Not that I'm an expert, but you look at the markets and they're dropping it down to the 3p mark or thereabouts, but they don't seem to want to let it go below it. Am I seeing something wrong here, or because I'm watching the share price? I don't know you guys watch the share price. I'm not trying to entrap you. But you watch it fall.
We can't really talk on a public level about short positions.
You watch it fall, but they don't seem to want to let it go below that 3p mark. It just always bounces back up. Yeah. So when you deliver news, like you did before, when you were at the 1.2, the 1.3, because we've been with the story a long time, and it just went. The share price went. They couldn't hold it back. The spring was that coiled. It just went.
Because well, that's what happened when we were below a penny.
That's what I'm trying to touch on
here.
The market
had us by the nuts because of the sentiment in the market generally, and the difficulty to get the momentum and acceleration in trading. The problem we've got now is that you've got MOD Resources pinned down by a rights issue, so they release stunning news like today, and they actually at one point they were down, which is farcical, but they finished flat. They don't really go anywhere, so the UK market thinks, oh, I'm not too sure about this news. It's stunning, folks. It's a remarkable opportunity. Do I have to say it 27 times, before people believe it? Or reality is, MOD gets through its rights issue, it starts to respond naturally to supply and demand. Whoever might be holding their price down over there, if there is anybody, will kind of back away, relax and let it run. We'll start to run on the back of it, and that pressure's away. The Thai side of things, we've had some nutty stuff sent to us with regard to Thailand and what's going on in Thailand. All sorts of stuff. People threatening to produce this, that and the other. Published stuff which was factually horribly incorrect about Thailand. I mean, embarrassingly incorrect. I've got the script. Amazing gibberish that people were saying about Thailand.
Some strange bloggers out there.
There's some strange people out there with strange economic interests in the background, isn't there? The reality is that they've got, at the moment with Chatri and the issues that are there, which are completely separate from anything we're doing, that they feel they have a bit of impetus. With regard to, we haven't yet announced a formalised transaction on the silver lead zinc mine because we're in very, very advanced discussions. Why haven't we just snapped a deal immediately? Well, basically because this is a project that will go on theoretically, potentially for decades and decades and decades, and will employ hundreds, if not, well, probably thousands of people in Thailand, make a dramatic difference to the local economy in Thailand where we're working, will make a material difference, very material to Metal Tiger and its investors. So we have to do this right, and we've been taking a lot of time with the owners of the mine to find the right structure for them and for us. And you know, we're very, very, very close, and and at some point we'll surprise people, one hopes, by just doing this thing and then announcing to market. But again, the negative side of the market feels it has us by the nuts because we haven't yet announced. Across the sector generally, it's in a bit of a pullback. It's had 4 to 6 weeks of downswing after a very positive couple of months earlier on in the year. So all those factors combined means you're going to get shorting interest in companies. And if you said to me independently, do I think there's a short in play in Metal Tiger, I'd say 90% probably sure myself. I've been a trader for God knows how many decades, and I've seen this on AIM for a long period of time. So probably, will they get caught by the nuts as the news flow starts to come out? I suspect they probably will. So just a little short warning. As I said to you at point 8, you know I said to you, at point 8, the shorts need to be careful because when this springs around, it will spring around. And that same warning applies now.
Yeah, I agree, because obviously we've followed this story for months and months and months. And like you said, once you've got to the trading range about 1.2, 1.35, and we watched it, and it sat there, I don't know, 2, 3 weeks, whatever, and it was around there.
Yeah.
And it had all the alarm bells ringing then.
Yeah.
And as soon as they let it go, you just knew it did anyway. It did go.
Yeah.
It did go in multiples.
Yeah.
So
and it's happened in numerous stocks in recent times before.
Yeah.
Some of which
now.
we've been involved in, you know, where you've seen a dramatic increase in share price after that kind of pressure builds to a certain point, and then they can't stop it.
So it's going to be interesting.
Anymore.
It's definitely going to be interesting couple of months to come, because
Yeah.
you've got so much going on. My personal opinion.
Yeah.
And I don't know. It's definitely. Just kindly lead us on to where this is 22nd of June today. And by the way, thanks very much for giving up your time, because you guys are busy. Do you believe Brexit would have any impact on Metal Tiger and its operations?
That's
a good question. That's a good question for today. It's coming up. It's the big one. What do you think?
Well, it depends how it goes, doesn't it?
Do you think it looks like the markets have been affected at the moment?
Yeah.
If you look across, you know, the pound fall and the markets have gone down.
Yeah.
It's up and down everywhere.
I mean, obviously, we leave, the pound will crash. Sentiment will be bad for a while. Whether we can renegotiate and sort of trade agreements, not everything will unwind immediately, right? It'll sort of take 2 years for everything to unwind. But in terms of how the market reacts, who knows? In a sense, it actually wouldn't be bad for the commodity sector.
All right.
Potentially.
Because obviously you guys are in this sector, so do you think it would hurt you, or what do you think?
Well, if Britain went into a recession, then the US also decided finally to let itself go into recession, and Yellen stops playing around with interest rates, then hopefully we should see a rebound in the commodity sector sooner rather than later. But I personally think it's going to remain, so let's see how that plays out. And I don't know, hopefully it just goes back to status quo if we remain and everything ends.
Life goes on.
Yeah, I mean, I have a fairly contrarian view on whether we should leave or remain. I mean, I actually think at the moment it looks like remain is what would happen, but for your question about Metal Tiger specifically, you know, we have interest in Spain, that's our bit in Europe. We're doing things in Africa and Southeast Asia. It's not really going to affect us, except how it might affect the market overall. Not such a big believer in the doomsday sort of analysis of things, that if we did actually leave, I think there are pros and cons to both, and there are competitive advantages, and there are things you can do with productivity if you're actually out, and there are freedoms there. Just because you don't have homogenised trade agreements with certain countries, it's not like those businesses within those countries aren't, you know, buying and selling goods and so forth. So, you know, yeah, I'm personally not happy with the status quo. Actually, I think there's a lot of flawed things in the system, and I sort of get alarm bells about how tenuous some other economies are. That you're getting opinions from all sorts of economies, and obviously the US being the biggest to get into the debate. You know, that somehow Brexit, you know, the UK could be the cause of the financial system meltdown. I mean, that I think would be that's of the wrong party to blame?
I'm of the opposite opinion, but anyways. I think a lot of talent from the Eurozone actually does come to the UK, and we send a lot of talent outside of the UK. And obviously for British businesses looking to establish operations in Europe or financial services throughout Europe, having a unified system works much, much more efficiently than it did before 1975, where you would have had to have visas and all sorts of, you know, things being tied up in administration, whereas now it's much, much quicker and much easier for a British company to invest in these countries, to deploy human resource in these countries because of the Eurozone. So if we leave that, we're going to leave all that behind, and it's going to take a while to negotiate individual deals with these countries. And I imagine a lot more admin and red tape will be put back in place.
I would say that personally, travelling in Europe is going to be slightly more painful.
I think the Europeans will punish us, to be honest.
Yeah.
I won't tell you obviously my political persuasion, but I do believe that the European Union would do that to us, because we'd have the dominoes effect across Europe.
Exactly,
then.
they need to set an example so nobody else tries.
Yeah, because then you look at France and what's going on there, and you know, them parties. So.
I mean, most economists and experts, you know, they've given their opinions. Enough of this.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just for Metal Tiger, as we say,
Yeah.
we've got one interest in Europe. Our predominant
It'd be
in
okay,
different
yeah.
parts of the world.
I just thought it was it's just a very apt question to finish off on, really.
I think it's ironic that you just had your responses from a chap with an American accent raised in Paris, and from a chap with an Australian accent raised in Perth,
By wolves.
and you haven't asked the only person with a decent Northern British accent what he thinks.
Here's Alex coming into shots. She's been out of it all shot.
Has she been sitting there the whole time?
She has. She's not been saying a word. Alex is secretary.
The thing is, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. People are still going to use fridges, cars. People are still going to want security, gold bars and silver.
People will still get hungry for 3 meals a day, you know.
Yeah.
Like,
doesn't
the sun will come up in the morning and it'll set
The
in
wells
the
will go on
evening.
now, basically.
Yeah.
And the UK is not some struggling little backwater. It's the 5th largest economy in the
GDP,
world.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's not like the shutters are getting pulled down.
Yeah, smelters will still need copper.
Yeah.
By the way, thanks very much for taking time to talk to us today. It's much appreciated, and I'm sure your shareholders will, you know, enjoy watching it to look at your answers and everything.
Well, we wanted, you got all three of us. I know it's been quite tricky and with the camera and all the rest of it, but we wanted people to see Michael before we lose him to Thailand for a while. And we appreciate all the stuff that you guys are doing. And for the shareholders out there that have seen the share price dip to 3p, we've all got an interest in the company. We've all had that share price attrition as well. We don't have the choice to sell, because we're committed to the business and we carry on and we hold the interest, but we've suffered significant capital loss ourselves in the last few weeks as the price has pulled back. We're not worried. None of us are worried about it. We know the data that's coming through from bots. We know the work that we're doing in Thailand and Spain, and also in some of our other projects, pipeline and in the asset trading side of things. We're in control of this business. We're driving it forward. People hopefully will share our confidence in the weeks and months ahead. We think it's going to be a very interesting time.
And I would just point out, on all the risk factors for Thailand, we're constantly speaking to people out there. Thais, wealthy Thais, influential Thai businessmen. We're speaking to the local advisors, the guys that work with us on a day-to-day basis. We understand the political risks, we understand all the risks, and we're constantly asking questions and assessing it. So I think that helps mitigate a lot of our decision-making process.
Fantastic. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Alex.
Thank you.
Thank you.